Vasudevaya. Chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. Text 1. Arjuna Uvacha Sanyasam Karmanam Krishna Punar Yogam Cha Samsasi Jashreya Itayor Ekam Tanme Bruhi Sunishchitam.
Arjun said, "O Krishna, first of all you ask me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial?"
Text 2. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sanyasha Karma Yogascha Nishreyasya Karav Ubhau Tayostu Karma Sanyasat Karma Yoga Vishishyate.
The personality of Godhead replied, "The renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation, but of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work."
Text 3. Neyasat Nitya Sanyasi Yona Dveshti Na Kangshati Nirvando Ni Mahabaho Sukham Bandhet Pramachyute.
One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated. O mighty armed Arjun.
Text 4. Sankhya Yoga Prithak Bala Pravadanti Na Pandita Ekam Api Astitha Samyag Ubayor Vindate Phalam.
Only the ignorant speak of devotional service, karma yoga, as being different from the analytical study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both.
Text 5. Yat Sankhye Prapyate Sthanam Tad Yoge Api Gamyate Ekam Sankhyam Cha Yogam Cha Yaha Pashyati Sa Pashyati.
One who knows that the position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, and who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are.
Text 6. Sanyasastu Mahabaho Dukham Aptum Ayogata Yoga Yukto Muni Brahma Nachirenda Gacchati.
Merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay.
Text 7. Yoga Yukto Vishuddhatma Vichitatma Chitendriya Sarva Bhutatma Kurvamapi Na Lipyate.
One who works in devotion, who is a pure soul, and who controls his mind and senses is dear to everyone, and always is dear to him. Though always working, such a person is never entangled.
Texts 8 and 9. Neva Kinchit Karomati Yukto Manyeta Tattvaved Pashyan Shrinvan Spriran Chigran Asnan Gachan Sopan Swasan Pralapan Vishchan Grihnan Anmisan Nimishan Api Indriyandriya Tarteshu Vatanta Iti Tarayayan.
A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them.
Text 10. Brahmani adaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyate na sa papena padma patram ivambasa.
One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water.
Text 11. Kayena manasa buddhya kevalet indriyapi yogina karma kurvanti sangam tyaktvatma sudaya.
The yogis, abandoning attachment, act with body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses, only for the purpose of purification.
Text 12. Yukta karma phalam tvatva santim apnoti nashtikim ayukta kama karena phale sakto nibhatyate.
The steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the result of all activities to me, whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled.
13. Sarva karmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vasi navadvare pure dehi neva kurvana karayan.
When the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates, the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done.
Text 14. Na kartyevam na karmani lokasya srijati prabhu na karma phala samyogam swabhavastu pravartate.
The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature.
Text 15. Nadet kasyati papam nacheva sukritam vibhuhu agnanindriyavartam jnanam tina muhyanti chantavaha.
Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge.
Text 16. Jnanena tu tad agnanam yesham nashitam atmanaha tesham aditya vajnanam prakashayati tatparam.
When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which his science is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything, as the sun lights up everything in the daytime.
Text 17. Tad buddhyasas tad atmanas tad nishthas tad paranayaha gachanti apunar avritem jnana nirduta kalmasaha.
When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are well fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings, though complete knowledge, and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation.
Text 18. Vidya vinaya sampane brahmane gavi hastini shuni cheva svalpakecha pandita samadarshina.
The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and a gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater, outcast.
Text 19. iheva te jita sargo yesham samye sthitam manaha nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmat brahmani te stitha.
Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman.
Text 20. Na praharsyet priyam prapya nodvichet prapya cha priyam sthira buddhi asammuto brahma vid brahmani stithaha.
A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the science of God, is already situated in transcendence.
Text 21. Bahyasparsev ashaktatma indati atmani yat sukham sa brahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam asnute.
Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme.
Text 22. Yehi samsparsa cha bhoga dukha yonaya evate adi antavantaha kaunteya nateshu ramate bhutaha.
An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material sense. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. Hare Krishna.
Text 23.
I thought we are continuing till text 29. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This was my understanding.
Sorry?
That was my understanding.
Yeah, that's the message I got. Jyoti Mataji, am I right? Till text 20?
Yes, Mataji, because it's only 29 verses.
Okay.
We will recite 1 to 29.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. Okay.
Text 23. Shaknoti hevaya sodhum praksarira vimokshanat kama krodha tuphavam vegam sayukta sa sukhi naraha.
Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world.
Text 24. Yonta yusukhonar anamas tathananta jyoti eva yaha sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhuto digacchati.
One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme.
Text 25. Labhante brahma nirvanam rashai shina kalmashaha china dvaita yatatmanaha sarva bhuta hite rataha.
Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all the living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme.
Text 26. Kama krodha vimuktanam yatinam yata chetasam abhito brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmanam.
Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future.
Texts 27 and 28. Sparshan kritva bahir bahiyamas chakshus chaivantare pruvoho pranapanu samo kritva nashabhya tara charino Yatendriya manobuddhir munir moksha parayanaha vigatecha payakrodo ya sada mukta eva saha.
Shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence, the transcendentalist, aiming at liberation, becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in this state is certainly liberated.
Text 29. Poktaram yagna tapasham sarva loka maheshwaram sudram sarva bhutanam natva mam santim rachate.
A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Hare Krishna. Sorry for any mistakes.
Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to the 5th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad-Gita in the matter of Karma Yoga, or action in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Please accept my mispronunciation.
No, that was very good, Yashwini Mataji. And thank you, Bhanutanaya Mataji. That was very, very nice. Thank you to both of you for reciting wonderfully. And thank you to all of you for joining us again today. We are starting chapter 5 today. Let me just get the screen. Okay, I think you can see it now. Can you see the screen? Yeah, the
Yes,
slides?
we can.
Yes,
Yes, we can, Mataji.
Thank you. So yeah, we are doing chapter 5 today, the first verse. Arjuna uvacha sannyasam karmanam Krishna punaryogam cha samsasi yat shreya etayorekam tanme bruhi sunishchitam. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Arjuna said, O Krishna, first of all, you ask me to renounce work, and then again, you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial? Does anybody want to read the purport?
Can I read Mataji, please?
Yes, please, Jyoti Mataji, go ahead.
In this 5th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita, the Lord says that work in devotional service is better than dry mental speculation. Devotional service is easier than the latter because, being transcendental in nature, it frees one from reaction. In the 2nd chapter, preliminary knowledge of the soul and its entanglement in the material body were explained. How to get out of this material engagement by Buddhi Yoga or devotional service was also explained therein. In the 3rd chapter, it was explained that a person who is situated on the platform of knowledge no longer has any duties to perform. And in the 4th chapter, the Lord told Arjuna that all kinds of sacrificial work culminate in knowledge. However, at the end of the 4th chapter, the Lord advised Arjuna to wake up and fight, being situated in perfect knowledge. Therefore, by simultaneously stressing the importance of both work in devotion and inaction in knowledge, Krishna has perplexed Arjuna and confused his determination. Arjuna understands that renunciation in knowledge involves cessation of all kinds of work performed as sense activities. But if one performs work in devotional service, then how is work stopped? In other words, he thinks that sannyasa or renunciation in knowledge should be altogether free from all kinds of activity, because work and renunciation appear to him to be incompatible. He appears not to have understood that work in full knowledge is non-reactive and is therefore the same as inaction. He inquires, therefore, whether he should cease work altogether or work with full knowledge. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Jyoti Mataji. Before we start, we'll just say our prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatirubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. All right. First of all, thank you all for coming. And right in the beginning, I must say that today I didn't have a lot of time for preparing because, no excuses, to be honest, it's my fault. But I hope that we can still take away very important lessons from this verse, because there is a lot to take away from here. Arjuna is confused like all of us are confused. So let's start, and hopefully we'll be able to. Right, so Arjuna's question now. Arjuna is clearly confused, and he is asking Krishna, first you tell me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. So, what is right? Is sannyas better or is karma yoga better? That is Arjuna's question, and he's saying, please kindly tell me which one is more beneficial. Why is Arjuna confused? And in the purport, Prabhupada actually speaks about how, in the second chapter, Krishna is saying something, and third chapter, what Krishna is saying. So let's briefly, I've just picked up some important verses from these particular chapters, just to kind of see how Arjuna has come to this stage of complete confusion. So in chapter 2, verse 47, Krishna is saying, you have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. See, clearly he's saying, don't be attached to not doing your duty. That means you must perform your duty. And then in 3.17, he says that for one who is realized, who's satisfied in the self, for him, there is no duty. So one place he says, don't be attached to not doing your duty. Then it says, there is no duty. Then in the fourth chapter, verse 33, he says, what is important? Knowledge. Perform sacrifices, but everything culminates in transcendental knowledge. So he's talking about Jnana Yoga here. Knowledge, get transcendental knowledge. Then in verse 441, Krishna is saying that one who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of action, and whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge. Notice this, that he is taking the three main points from the above three verses. So he's taking the point about who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his action, right? And whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge is situated factually in the self. So he is bound by no reactions. That's what Krishna is saying. And then in the final verse of the 4th chapter, Krishna says, therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. But finally, he says, armed with yoga, O Bharata, stand and fight. Now, Arjuna is completely confused. He's confused in that on one side, I'm being told that I should try and get transcendental knowledge, right? On the other side, then I'm being told I must stand and fight, right? So what is Arjuna's confusion actually? Let us try and come to that exact question that Arjuna has in his mind. Now, we've studied some of the verses where in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is talking about how by performing your prescribed duty, you can attain perfection. Remember, we've spoken about this, that whatever is your prescribed duty, one must not give up your duty. You must perform your duty. And by performing your duty, you will come to the stage of attaining perfection, right? But then the question here is, and this is what Arjuna is thinking about the laws of karma, right? We all know the laws of karma. If I perform some action, I am going to get the result. Whether that action is good or bad, based on that, I will get good or bad results. It is not like the Newton's law where, equal and opposite reaction. No, that doesn't happen here. What happens is, if you perform good actions, you will get good reactions, or if you perform sinful activities, then you will get bad karma, bad reactions. However, the point is that you have to come back to face these results of your activities. So Arjuna is thinking that, I have to get rid of this karma. Any activity that I perform, I am going to be entangled in this karma, right?
Oh, where's Ash? Ash?
Sorry, I'm just...
Oh.
Can everybody please mute yourselves so that we don't have any disturbance? Sorry. May I request everybody to just mute yourselves, please? Thank you. Okay, so sorry, I just lost the track. So Arjuna obviously is thinking, all of us, what are we thinking about? We want to attain perfection. But if I'm performing my duty, especially for Arjuna, he's thinking, how can I get perfection in the course of my work? Why? Because his duty was warfare. He's a Kshatriya. He's supposed to fight. And if he's going to fight, he's thinking, how is it that I will attain perfection? Because in the fight, I'm going to be killing people. And killing is such a sinful reaction, a sinful action. And I am going to get reaction for that. So you can see that Arjuna is completely confused on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He's thinking that, Krishna is talking about renunciation, where, I don't need to perform any activities. And then he's asking me to get up and fight. But my duty is the duty of a Kshatriya, where I'm going to be killing people. So that's not right. And he's heard Krishna talking about Buddhi Yoga, where Buddhi Yoga is where one has to develop knowledge in order to realize oneself. So he thinks that is what is right for me. So I want to become a sannyasi. I want to just renounce everything and I want to become a sannyasi. And there is nothing wrong in thinking like that, because the human life is meant for self-realization. And therefore, a human being will think how I can free myself from the duties. However, we have to, so like Arjuna, all of us also sometimes get bewildered. We go through these stages where we think that it is best to renounce. It is best to become a sannyasi and give up all activities so that I don't have any kind of karma, whether good or bad. The problem is that sannyas is not just going to the forest, right? We have on this forum many times spoken about the different kind of renunciation or vairagya. Can anybody call out some names of what vairagya we have discussed? Because we've discussed it a number of times. Anybody, any names that you can remember? What were the different kind of renunciations?
Markat Vairagya.
Yes, that's right, Hema Mataji. So we've discussed Markat Vairagya. And Prabhupada explains this is, Markat is the monkey. So Prabhupada is explaining that when you see a monkey, you think he's so renounced. He lives in the forest, he's on the trees, he's just having these fruits of the trees. He's not attached to anything. But actually, he's attached to so many female monkeys, Prabhupada says. So that is Markat Vairagya. We'll come to that a little bit more in a bit. Any other Vairagya that anybody can remember? I'm sure we've discussed this. And you all,
Vairagya, Mataji, Gnan Vairagya?
which is that?
Gnan Vairagya?
Jnana Vairagya, I know what you're trying to say is where a person feels that once he has attained knowledge, he does not need to perform any other activity. That's right. We've not discussed that here so much because Prabhupada doesn't talk so much about it, but I understand where you're coming from, Prabhupada Mataji. Thank you. That's important. Any other Vairagya? Okay. Does anybody remember once we discussed Smashan Vairagya? So Smashan Vairagya is, what happens is that it generally happens with all of us. I'm sure you all must have at some time seen that in yourself. Is, when let's say that somebody who you know or a close friend or family or somebody who you know has left his body and you're attending the funeral or you're thinking about this thing, you're thinking about death, let's say. And at that time, you kind of start realizing, what is the point of all this? What is the use? At the end of life, one just goes empty-handed, so there's no point in struggling and all of that. But the moment you leave that atmosphere, the moment you come out of that, that home where this has happened, or out of the, where the funeral is, or whatever, crematorium or whatever, the moment you're out, you again are caught in this material world and you again go into the same struggle of, your day-to-day activities. So this is called Smashan Vairagya, that for momentarily, because you're so taken up by all these emotions, you think, yeah, there's no use of this material life and, one must renounce. And then finally, we have Yukta Vairagya. Yukta Vairagya is where one actually realizes, what do I have to renounce? I don't own anything. Like an example, a farmer working on the field belongs to the landlord. So the farmer who's working on the field has been given the seeds that are to be planted by the landlord. The landlord arranges for the water that he has to, give to the plants, whatever. So then the results of the plants also will be given to the landlord. Nothing belongs to the farmer, and the farmer realizes that. He will get some money for the labor that he has put in, but that's all that he actually owns. He does not own anything else. In the same way, Krishna has given us things to use in this life, but we don't own anything. Everything belongs to Krishna. Each and everything belongs to Krishna. It is under the authority of Krishna that the sun rises and the sun sets, and we have rain and we have the moon rise, and because we have rain, we have grains. Because of that, we have food, and everything is given by Krishna. So there's nothing that we really have that we can renounce, right? So Yukta Vairagya is where we use the things that have been given to us by Krishna and use it in the service of Krishna. right? So here Arjuna is confused. What he is thinking is that he has to just renounce everything, renounce all activities. But Krishna is explaining to us, sorry, before we go there, in the purport, Prabhupada is explaining with Bhagavad-Gita 3.17, he says, a person who is fully Krishna conscious and is fully satisfied by his acts in Krishna consciousness no longer has any duty to perform. This is the same verse that we saw earlier. So here again, we're talking about the different renunciations. And in Bhagavad-Gita 3.6, it clearly Krishna is saying that one who restrains the senses of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. Thus, one has to actually be internally detached. Going to the forest and saying that I'm going to renounce everything, but mentally, your senses are constantly thinking of how you can satisfy your senses. Your mind is constantly asking you to do things which will make your senses happy. That is false renunciation. Falgu Verragya. That is called Falgu Verragya. That is false renunciation, right? So what is Krishna asking us to do and Arjuna to do? Because when he's talking to Arjuna, he's talking to all of us. So what is Krishna recommending? What Krishna is recommending is spirit of renunciation in work. That is sannyas in karma, not sannyas of karma. You don't renounce your work. You renounce, you change your consciousness. The spirit of renunciation should be in your work. So what it means is that any work that is done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. And that work will not cause any bondage. Otherwise, all work is going to cause bondage. And thus what Krishna is trying to explain to Arjuna is that your duty, your dharma to fight this war is for my satisfaction. And if you perform this work for my satisfaction, you will remain free from bondage. You see? So here Krishna is very clearly explaining what he wants Arjuna to do. So actually, Krishna is giving us the key to understand the perfection. What is he saying? When one works for the satisfaction of Krishna, without any of our personal desire, then that person has absolutely nothing to worry about the reaction of any reaction that is going to come from his work. Sorry, I can just hear some sound. Can I please request, I'm just going to mute people. Sorry. Okay, that's better. So what Krishna is telling Arjuna is that if you do something for my satisfaction, then you will not get any reaction. And Prabhupada, very nice analogy he uses to explain this to us. And the analogy is that, you know, when the soldiers are fighting on the battlefield, during the course of the battle, you know, they kill people. They kill soldiers from the opposite party. But he is not punished for that. In fact, he might be given a medal for it, that, you know, you've done wonderful work. That same soldier, if he is at home and he gets into a fight with his neighbor and he hurts his neighbor even just a tiny bit, even just maybe slaps him or whatever, the police will be called and there will be action taken against him. So Prabhupada gives this very, very nice analogy that when the soldier is fighting on the battlefield, he is doing it under the authority. The government has authorized him to perform this activity. And that is why he is not going to get any reaction for that work that he's doing from the government. We are not talking in the absolute result he's going to get, but we are talking about on this material platform. He's not going to get any reaction because he's performing this activity under the authority of the government, right? So same way, when you are doing something for the satisfaction of Vishnu or Krishna, without having your own desire, your own selfish or egoistical desire, then you don't have to worry about the reaction of that work. So obviously, further in this chapter, this will be explained a lot more, but we can see why Arjuna is confused, because Arjuna is thinking that any work that I do will give me some kind of reaction. So it is best for me to take sannyas. But Krishna is explaining the actual meaning of sannyas. The actual meaning of sannyas is you don't give up work, but you work for my pleasure, to satisfy me. And as is tradition, we will end this with a nice story from our Shastras. So this story comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And this is a story about Kurma Brahman. So when Mahaprabhu, he decided to travel to the south of India, and he went to Kurma Kshetra. And when he was there, he was visiting lots of people and, talking about the glories of Krishna, of chanting the holy name. And during his travels, he met this Brahman who lived in Kurma Kshetra, Kurma Brahman, Kurma Vipra, who served him with a lot of love and devotion. And Mahaprabhu was very pleased with his service. And eventually, when Mahaprabhu decided to take leave, the Brahmin fell at his feet and said, please give me permission to leave my family and come with you, because I can see that my life's goal is to be at your lotus feet. And at that time Mahaprabhu said to him that never again talk like this. He said, never again talk like this. You should in fact fulfill your responsibilities as a householder. Look after your parents, look after your family, and by being situated in this way, but always thinking of me while performing all your duties, you will attain perfection. And in fact, become a guru of everybody else. And in that way, bring them also to chant the holy name of the Lord. And that will be your perfection. So see, Mahaprabhu in this story, it's a very long story, but I've kind of just, just told you the main point here is that Mahaprabhu is not asking him to take sannyas or to leave his responsibilities. The point again being made over here is that by performing your duties as an offering to Krishna, as an offering to Mahaprabhu, you will attain the perfection of life. And for Arjuna, as a Kshatriya, his duty was to fight on the battlefield. And there was nothing wrong in fighting because he was doing it for Krishna, as an offering to Krishna. So always bear that in mind. You perform your duties, your responsibilities, but as an offering to Krishna. And then you will reach the perfection of your life. So I am going to stop here. It is 8:30. If there are any questions or comments, realizations, corrections.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes, Hema Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Wonderful, lots of thought, food for thought. I was trying to understand Yukta and Yukta Vairagya, because I was also thinking of when Mahaprabhu is instructing Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami for the first time, when they ran off, when they came in the middle of the night. And they were saying that, he was saying, go back, perform your duties to the best of your ability. And when the time is right, you within yourself start detaching. So was that Yukta Vairagya, or I know Mahaprabhu uses the word bhavuk renunciation, kind of don't come into your emotions and renunciate things. Actually do it when you are actually ready to renunciate. So is that Yukta Vairagya?
So, okay, I'm not the right person to answer that question, but from my understanding, what I think is that Mahaprabhu very clearly said that when the time is right,
Huh.
right? So obviously there was, we have to understand that he was through Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, he's instructing us, because obviously for such exalted personalities, the time is always right to renounce.
Yeah. Yes.
But what he was trying to do is instruct people like us who probably think that spiritual life is giving up your responsibilities and going away. So what Mahaprabhu was trying to tell Rupa, Sanatana Goswami, and obviously through them instruct us, was that don't just leave things like that and walk away. But at that time, Rupa and Sanatana Goswami were serving in that capacity where they were not doing any kind of activities for propagating Krishna consciousness.
Yes.
Yeah. If I'm correct in my understanding, there was only after that where obviously Rupa Goswami left and Sanatana Goswami stopped going to work and started listening to Bhagavatam classes. But even at that time, it was not that he had used his wealth to kind of propagate Krishna consciousness in that sense, because he was still an employee.
Yes.
So that really, that Yukta Vairagya at that time didn't come into effect, but it did come into effect when Rupa Goswami left and he gave 50% of whatever he had in charity. He kept 25% for himself and he kept 25% for Sanatana Goswami. That we can call Yukta Vairagya, because what he did was, yes, he was very rich, but he did not use that wealth for himself. Instead, he used that wealth to the best of his ability for, in a sense, Krishna consciousness, because he was trying to get his brother out of that situation also. That is my understanding.
Yes, very good, Mataji.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Thank you for that. Thank you for clarification.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Joli Mataji.
On the subject of confusion,
yes.
If Arjuna is confused, what about us laymen?
Yes.
And actually, I am confused too, because I'm thinking about, Arjuna was asked by Krishna. Well, he was instructing him to fight.
Yes.
And so there's two parts to this question. If he's Krishna being God, having all this, he could just flick his finger and destroy the whole army and destroy all the evils. So that I'm confused as how he went through such a lengthy process to get Arjuna to fight. I'm not sure what the meaning is in that. I know it was to do with justice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, first thing what we need to understand, and Prabhupada says this many times, Arjuna was an eternal associate of Krishna. So obviously he was never confused. So all this is to kind of give instructions to us, to everybody who will follow. Okay, so that is one thing. Second thing, yes, with a flick of his finger, Krishna could have done anything that he wanted. And in fact, when he shows Arjuna his universal form, he shows Arjuna the future where Arjuna can see that all of these people on the battlefield will die. And he can see them all entering Krishna's mouth and whatever else. And Krishna says that whether you fight or you don't fight, the result you can see. I'm showing you the future, but be my instrument. Like, I will just give you one very nice example, and Prabhupada used to speak about it. When Mahaprabhu was here, with just his thought, he could have propagated Krishna consciousness throughout the world. Right? He could have done it straight away. Why has he given us, insignificant fools who don't know anything, I'm talking about myself here, Why is he giving me this opportunity to propagate Krishna consciousness? He could have done it himself. Right?
Yeah.
So he wants to use all of us as instruments. He wants to
right.
give us this chance. Krishna says in the Gita that, I want my devotees to be known. People should talk about my devotees because Krishna feels so happy when his devotees are glorified. So here we talk that, oh, wow, Arjuna was such a great warrior. He was able to, fight this battle on of Kurukshetra, and he killed his enemies and he was victorious. We are glorifying Arjuna, and that pleases Krishna. Otherwise, for Krishna, he doesn't need all this. And he showed Arjuna in his universal form in the 11th chapter, if I'm not mistaken, that's the universal form. And he says, Arjuna, you can see that all these warriors, they are all destined to die. He saw that they were all entering Krishna's mouth and they were being crushed and they were going to die. So he said, whether you do it or you don't do it, this is the result. But you become my instrument, Arjuna.
And also because he was a warrior.
Yes, because that's his dharma.
Top warrior.
Yes, that's his dharma.
Yeah. But also the other confusion is because Kurukshetra was a holy place. Why would they choose a holy place to do a battle? I suppose it is connected with what you just said, but to me,
so
I'm confused.
Yeah, no, in the first verse of the Bhagavad-Gita, where it says, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samavetyuyutsa Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kimma Kurvata Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra is asking Sanjaya that on this place, which is Dharma Kshetra, and these people have assembled. And then if you see the purport and the explanation given is that your question is why a battle? But this battle is not a normal battle. It is a holy battle. It is the dharma. It is a battle for establishing dharma. And where else could it be than in a holy place? And if you read the purport and understand the first verse, it says that because it is being fought on a holy place, the result was already predestined that the people who are fighting for dharma, which is the Pandavas, will win. You see? And that is why Dhritarashtra is even asking this kind of question. That verse itself is very, very, very deep, because he knows it. He knows this is a holy battle. He knows that my children, my sons are actually on the wrong, but because of his attachment to his sons, he's not able to bring himself to stop this, to correct this. But he knows within his heart that the Pandavas are correct. They are on the side of Dharma. And that is why this battle is being fought on a Dharma Kshetra, on this wonderful battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is a place, which is a holy place. And so the people on the side of Dharma will actually win.
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely. But they also, because it's a holy place, despite the perpetrators, they all got liberation anyway because of the holiness of the land. Is that right?
Because of the main thing is because Krishna was present.
Yeah.
So anybody who is seeing Krishna at the time of death obviously is going to get liberated. And we see that from the pastimes of Krishna when he is liberating all the demons that come to actually harm him. Imagine Putana is given she is a nurse. She's given the status of a mother in the spiritual world, because although she was a demoness, she wanted to feed Krishna. So Krishna is so kind that even with the demons, he is giving them liberation. So anybody who sees Krishna is liberated. Yes, the point here is what kind of liberation are they achieving? Because there are different types of liberation, you see. There are 5 different types of liberation. So what is the liberation that the demons are achieving, and what is it that the devotees want? So there is difference in that. But that's again a huge topic. But yes, they do get liberated. Yes.
Haribol, thank you, Mataji,
Thank
for
you,
taking the time to answer that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Mataji, can I ask you,
Yes.
what are the 5 types of liberation?
Yes, that's a good question. And I will try and see if I can remember all of them in Sanskrit. I know there is Sahujya, Swarupya, Salukya. I'll have to look it up. Give me 1 minute and I will look it up because I don't remember the Sanskrit for it. And in English also, I kind of know what it means. One is where, you go into the light, but give me 1 second. I will look it up right now.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. I never remember all the words for it. Yeah. So we've got 5 kinds of liberation, and they are attaining the planet where Krishna resides. Hold on 1 second. 5 kinds of liberation. So in Sanskrit, the words are Sarupya, Salokya, Shrashti, Samipya, and Sahujya. Now, in what it means is that one liberation is where you get residence of the Vaikuntha planets where Narayan resides. The other liberation is that he gets the same opulence, wealth, as the Lord. The third one, Sarupya, is that you get the same form as Lord Narayan, which is the 4-armed form. Samipya is where you become a personal associate of the Lord. This is like devotees like Arjuna. And Sayujya is the liberation attained by the yogis and jnanis, which is that you merge, you become one with the Brahma Jyoti, which is like an impersonal kind of things. So these are the 5 kind of liberations. And in fact, Prabhupada says that the devotee does not want any of these liberations. He just wants the mercy of Krishna, and he wants to be in Goloka Vrindavan serving Krishna.
Right, Mataji. Yeah, understand.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Very nicely explained. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments or any realizations from this verse? Because this verse was a bit confusing and tricky a little bit.
Yeah. Mataji, they even when you do get to serve Krishna, it's not forever, is it? Because I believe somebody said that you've got to actually go through different levels of processes.
Prabhupada says that for a devotee, his desire obviously is to serve Krishna. Now, service of Krishna, the thing is, this is quite a high level where Prabhupada would say that for a devotee, service of Krishna, if he gets the chance to chant the holy names of Krishna, he is willing to even go to hellish planets. So to understand what liberation is or what service of Krishna is actually a very, very deep topic, because one may think that service of Krishna is to be with Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan, but Prabhupada said that for a devotee, service is whatever Krishna desires of him. And if Krishna desires him to go to the hellish planets, a devotee is willing to go to the hellish planets also. So that's service. That's the consciousness that a devotee will have, where for him, anything that Krishna wants him to do is his service to him.
Well, Mataji, it was said that the hellish planet is the worst. It's actually total punishment, isn't it?
It is. But
So
like Prabhupada, when Prabhupada is talking about it, Prabhupada says, yes, the hellish planet is the worst, but if it is my service to go to the hellish planets and chant the holy names of the Lord, my only desire is that wherever Krishna sends me, wherever Krishna puts me, I should not forget the holy name.
Right.
That is my only prayer. Whether it is in hellish planets, whether it is in the body of a dog. Prabhupada, in some of his lectures, he says, when he's quoting other acharyas also, he says that even if I am given the body of a dog, please let me be a dog in the house of devotees so that I can have remnants of prasad that they eat. So you see, I mean, it's a very high and very esoteric kind of thought. We are not at that level, but this is what, as devotees, one should realize and accept and understand that, like we said just before we finish this, understanding this verse, the whole point is that let me do everything for your satisfaction and not have my own desire in it. So if it satisfies Krishna to send me as in the body of a dog, then let me accept it, because that is what will satisfy Krishna. See, I'm not at that stage, but that's
My goodness, it's a lot to say.
yes.
Thank you. Thanks for taking the time to explain. It's quite a lot.
It is.
A
In fact,
deep subject.
very, very deep, Jolly Mataji. So sometimes, that's what, what it is. The Bhagavad-Gita is like, and all our scriptures are like lotus flowers. They open their petals as much as we try to go deeper into it. So first time it's just one layer and you think, oh yeah, okay, that kind of makes sense. And then you go a little bit deeper and then a little deeper and you think, oh, right, okay, that's a lot. But that they reveal themselves. That's how they reveal themselves. And that's fine. We are on this journey. Let's just take these steps, because Krishna is promising, you take one step, I'll take 100 steps towards you. Don't worry about it. So for us, our endeavor is to just constantly, every single day, take this step towards Krishna. That's all.
And not worry about what's to come.
At all. Not at all.
Yes, that's why
Krishna's
it's good.
hands.
That's why it's good to be so humble. You don't think about anything else, and don't analyze and get deeper and get
We have to try, yes.
too entrenched in it, because it gets you more confused.
Yeah, we have to try. Yeah. Thank you,
Thanks a
Julie.
lot.
All right. If there are, is there any other? I don't know if there's any questions on the chat. 1 second.
Sorry, can I ask a quick question? Only if it's a quick one.
No, it's fine, Chaitanya Mataji. I have all the time in the world. If anybody is in a rush, you're most welcome to leave. So it's fine. Yeah, go on.
Okay, thank you. When it said that we're talking about the 5 types of liberation and the one, the Brahma Jyoti, which merges with Krishna. And I've heard before that it's impersonal. What does that mean, as in being impersonal?
Okay, so first of all, what we have to realize is that Krishna is a person, right? A lot of yogis and jnanis don't think of Krishna as a person sometimes. They are only thinking of the absolute truth, the light, the knowledge, the jnana, this understanding that, there's so much more to this world, universe, I am so and so, what is my role, and all of that. But it is so important to understand that Krishna is a person.
Okay.
Right? So as a person, we have to develop a personal relation with Krishna. A lot of time, Prabhupada gives this very nice example. There are many examples, but I'll give you this analogy of the sun. The sun has got its the sun rays, then there is the sun planet, and there is the demigod, the Lord, who is the Lord of the sun. There's living entities on the sun. In the Gita, it says that there are 8,400,000 living entities. There's living entities everywhere. Yeah. In the water, in fire, on the sun planet. There is a sun god. Your understanding of the sun is, when we look at the sun rays or the light coming from the sun, that is one understanding. We understand, okay, these lights are coming from the sun. But there is a sun planet, there is a surface of the sun, and then within the sun, there is a sun god. So there is 3 stages of understanding. The same way, there is 3 stages of understanding the absolute, of understanding Krishna. Everything that is here is from Krishna. So there is the Brahma, which is the Brahma Jyoti, or what is this light or this knowledge that comes from Krishna. Yes, that is the first stage of understanding. Then the second stage of understanding is the Paramatma. As the super soul, Krishna is within each and every living entity. right? So that is
Yeah.
the second stage of understanding. As the Paramatma, as the super soul, he is within each and every living entity, be it the worm, be it myself, be it you, be it, you know, the animals, the trees, everybody, every living entity. And finally, the third stage of understanding is Krishna as this two-armed cowherd boy who was in Vrindavan with his parents, Yashoda, and with, you know, Nanda Maharaj, and who performed various pastimes with the cowherd boys and the girls and with Radharani. You know, that is Krishna. He's a person. So there are three stages of realizing, and a devotee wants to realize Krishna in all these three stages and finally coming to the stage where he knows that he's a person. Whereas sometimes yogis are, you know, they focus more on performing the austerities. You know, in the last class, we were discussing how the yogis don't think of the journey itself, they think of the destination. They know that there is life after this death. So if I perform austerities, my next life will be a better one. So they focus only on the austerities. But a devotee focuses on the journey and on the destination. The journey is that if I bring Krishna into my life, if I always think of myself as being part and parcel of Krishna, as being the soul, but connected to the super soul, and always turning to Krishna and performing everything, all my activities as an offering to Krishna, that's his journey, then he knows that his destination, if Krishna desires, will be with Krishna in the next life also. I hope this briefly answers your question.
Yes, yeah, thank you very much. That was a good explanation. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. There's a question saying, what is the practical example of Yukta Verragiam in everyday life? I'll give you a practical example. Prabhupada always gave this example also, but you know, we can use other more. In Prabhupada's time, he used to talk about the microphone, because he used to give a lot of classes. He was using the microphone and he said, you know, look at this microphone. I could use it for so many other things. I could use it for just talking about the material life, about, you know, talking about anything else. But here I'm using this microphone for Krishna Katha, to talk about Krishna. These days we've got our, mobile phones and computers and whatever else. We are on Zoom. Zoom is a wonderful technology. I could be using Zoom for doing so many other things, you know, but here I am using Zoom for Krishna Katha. This is the practical example of Yukta Vairagya, where you can use everything. We don't give up anything. We don't renounce anything. We may have the best of technology, the best of laptops, the best of mobile phones, best of everything. But why we have it is we are trying to use it for Krishna, trying to use it for service of Krishna. I hope that answers your question. I don't have the name here, so I don't know who asked the question. Okay, hopefully that's answered. Yes. Anything else? It is 5 to 9, so I know it is late. If there's any other questions, please let me know, or else we will stop here. Thank you for being such a wonderful audience. It's nice to interact. We all learn so much from each other. Thank you for really just, asking these questions. It helps me also. And please forgive me. Like I said, I wasn't very, very well prepared for this class, but your questions really helped. So thank you very much. Vancha kalpatriyubhascha kripa sindhu
Wonderful class, Mataji.
Thank
Yes.
you, Mataji. Wonderful class.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
As always, wonderful.
Thank you, Mataji. You don't have to be prepared. It comes from the heart.
Yes.
Thank you,
Yes, I
Mataji.
agree.
Hare
It's
Krishna.
genuine.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
yes,
Thank you,
I
Mataji.
agree. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna, everyone.
Leeladhar Prabhu.
Hare
Thank you so much for being there. I feel very humbled when I see all you senior devotees. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
See, I'm not senior.
I can't see you, Joli Mataji.
Eh?
I can't see you. I can see
Oh,
Prabhuji.
sorry. But I'm not senior.
Oh, no.
I am junior.
No, there's nothing like that. But I obviously, he's senior in age. He's been in the movement for many, many years.
Oh,
so-
no. Oh, I see. I thought you said all of us are senior. Sorry. No. I wouldn't class myself. No, the video is not working. Look, it's not coming off.
No, I can see you now. I can see you. Thank
Oh,
you.
you can?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
excellent. All right. I couldn't see it. Yeah,
Thank
all
you.
right. Take care,
Thank you.
Haribo.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.